From 2010, when I graduated college, until 2014, I managed to pay off all of my debt, all $117,000 worth. And so for the first time in a long time, I could consider myself worthless. I mean, at least as it related to my personal finances. And so in this video, I want to share the 3 steps that I took to get there and break down some of the important details like my income during those years. This video is brought to you by my friends at Squarespace. I'll talk more about them later. So at 22 years old and just fresh out of college, I had over $97,000 in student loans. And then I made the brilliant decision to buy a brand new car. So let's add another $18,165 onto the total, not including change. So at my lowest point, I had $117,000 worth of debt. And while student loans are increasing every year, most people don't graduate with the kind of debt that I do unless you get into a medical field. Now, I don't know why a filmmaker would need $117,000 in debt to start their career, but mistakes were made, blame it on the system, blame it on myself and my stupidity at 18 years old. The problem was now mine to deal with. And at first, I wasn't going to deal with it at all. I was resigned to just paying the minimum payments every month for 30 years until I finally paid it all off. But then I started to get interested in self-development. I started to read stories of people who had paid off their debts in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years. It started to inspire me to chase that kind of freedom and that kind of financial independence. And so that's when I got started. And for me, there were really 3 core steps that helped me get through it as quickly as I did. Step 1, intentionally cut back on your spending. Now, it really doesn't matter how much money you make if you continue to spend every last cent of your paycheck. And so you need to get really intentional with where you're spending your money and how you're spending it. I know lots of people who make $150,000, $200K who still have tens of thousands of dollars worth of student debt. A lot of times we convince ourselves that we deserve these nice things because we work so freaking hard. But what you really deserve after all that hard work is to be debt-free. And so if we can begin to reframe our spending habits, if we don't increase our lifestyle with each increase in pay, then we can begin to make a dent on our debt. One of the most difficult decisions that I made early on, which ended up being the best one that I could have made, was to move back home to live with my parents.
Hi, my name is Matt Diavella, and you are inside of The Black Box. The Black Box! Dinner time? That's embarrassing. Noodles with soup. Yeah, I'll have some noodles with soup.
It was a difficult decision because all of my friends were going off and they were living on their own. They were partying in the city and dating and doing all the things I wanted to do. And I was at home watching late night television reruns in my parents' basement. And it was really, truly difficult. Like, I wanted to do all those things, but I also knew that this wasn't the time. That right now I had to save, I had to be patient, I had to look towards the long-term vision of my life and take this short-term sacrifice now. I ended up saving thousands of dollars every month on rent and utilities and everything else that is associated with living on your own. It was around this time that I discovered minimalism, and that really was a practice that helped me understand my values and changed the way that I spent money. Even though I had decided to move home with my parents, I was still spending pretty recklessly. I was spending thousands of dollars on clothes, a flat screen TV. I already mentioned I put $18,000 of loans into a brand new car. And so when I discovered minimalism, it helped me to redefine my idea of success. I questioned, what are the things that are really going to make me happy at the end of the day? Why am I making these purchases in the first place? And when I started to ask these questions, I realized that I didn't need to prove to anybody else that I was successful. Minimalism really helped me to gain a better alignment with my spending and the kind of future that I wanted to build for myself. And that was a radical shift that didn't just change the immediate future, but it changed every decision I made from that point on on when it came to my spending. One common misconception about minimalism is that it means you have to live a frugal lifestyle. And I don't think that that's true. I don't think that just because you're intentional with your purchases means that you will never buy nice things and you won't let yourself enjoy things while you're also paying off your debt. I love what Ramit Sethi teaches. He's a personal finance expert. He talks about not sacrificing the daily lattes. And lattes is a metaphor for anything that you might spend regularly that gives you a little bit of joy each day. So if you cut out a $5 latte every day, you're gonna save about $1,800 over the course of the year. Now, most people can't do that or won't do that, or they'll try and then give up and fail and say, you know what, this frugal lifestyle thing, this, counting every last dollar, it's just not gonna work for me, because it doesn't work for most people. Instead, what you can do is focus on the big items. So the areas where you're spending thousands of dollars every year, whether it's clothes or eating out, what are those areas that are the biggest problem sources for you when it comes to money disappearing out of your bank account, and how can you get more intentional with those purchases? Again, I'm not saying that you can't buy nice things. I don't think you need to deprive yourself of things that will bring value and joy to your life. But I do think we need to get really thoughtful about which ones are essential right now when we're paying off our debt. If you're making really big sacrifices like moving into your parents' house to live for a couple years as you pay off your loans, I think it also means that you need to get intentional with those other decisions, and you can make sacrifices for the first couple years as you begin to build momentum. But no, you do not need to sacrifice your daily latte. Step number 2, focus on making more money. So this is really personal finance 101. If you wanna save more money and pay off your debts, you need to spend less money and make more money. I don't think that you need to overcomplicate it any more than that. It really is that simple. But of course, there are some nuances in here, especially when it comes to making more money. And so that's what I want to talk about right now and share some of the experience that I had in increasing my income over just a 4-year period. So I've never actually held a traditional job apart from the grocery store that I worked at in high school and was promptly fired from and sued for $7 million for making a parody rap video. But that's a story for another day.
The fresh beats, baby, you know what I mean.
I have run my own video production business ever since college. And around 2009 was the first year that I started to make an income as a freelance filmmaker and a videographer, whatever you want to call it. I made videos for clients and they paid me money for it. Now, running your own business is definitely one of the quickest ways to increase your income rapidly over time. Now, over a short period of time, I should say. Now, it's not guaranteed. There are definitely a lot of risks involved, and there are a lot of people that start their own businesses that never get it off the ground. But if you're good enough, if you invest in your skills, and if you invest in providing real value to clients and customers, 100%, that's the fastest way that you're gonna be able to increase your income. So 2009 was the very first year that I made money running my own business, and I made about $10,000 in profit. In 2010, I nearly tripled my revenue. My profit that year was about $28,000. So in 2011, my revenue increased to around $53,000, but my profit was actually pretty low and pretty similar to the year before at $33,000. Now, 2011 was really a turning point for me in my business. While I did make around the same bit of profit, those first couple years helped me to build momentum and increase my overall revenue and the amount of clients that I had, which would eventually bring in more money down the road. And so this was really that turning point that I needed to give me the confidence to keep going with my business. To make over $50,000, even if it wasn't profit in 1 year, was a huge win for me, and it showed me the potential of where I could go with this. 2012 was a massive year for me and was one that definitely helped me to get the ball rolling on my debt in a way that no other year did. So my net profit was $94,000. In 2013, again, I had another big year. More expenses this year as I hired more people and invested more in my gear. My profit was $65,000 for the year. And in 2014, my profit, $84,000 for the year. And so if you average it out over these 4 years from the moment I started paying off my loans in 2011, I made around $69,000 per year. That's net profit after all my expenses. Keep in mind that this does not include my personal expenses like my rent, utilities, and all that fun stuff. Although I was able to write some of that off because some of that was used for my business, like the internet, as well as a very small part of my at-home office. So how was I able to steadily increase my income over these 6 years? Now, the first thing, which I already mentioned, is I had to get really freaking good at what I did. I had to make sure that I delivered for every single client that I worked with, because every client that I delivered for and I made an amazing video for, they shared that work with other people. They said, oh, you gotta, if you need a video person, you gotta go hire Matt, he's amazing. That helped to build out my network and the kind of people that came to me for more work. Now, if you burn a bridge, if you screw up a project, then that's where that relationship ends. They don't recommend you, they don't come back for more work. And so that's why every project is vital. It doesn't matter what you're working on, you have to deliver the best possible product that you can at the end of the day. The second thing that I did was I increased my rates every single year. So important. And I increased them pretty dramatically each year. So if you look at my max project, that was like the biggest project I did for the year. It increased year after year. In 2011, my biggest project was just over $3,000. 2012, it was over $6,000. In 2013, it was over $12,000, and in 2014, it was over $30,000 for one project. So you have to get into a position where you say no to work, where a client comes to you and say, hey, I've only got $500, can you make this work? And you just say, no, I'm sorry, I can't make that work. Or every year, if a client comes back to you, you have to have that conversation with them, be like, yep, would love to work with you again. Just to let you know, our rates did increase, like we're investing more into this kind of production, we're hiring more crew. You have to obviously justify why you're increasing this rate and why they will be paying more money. Making sure that you take that risk, that you're willing to potentially lose a client to increase your rate, is gonna make your life so much easier. Because I went from doing one project that was $3,000 that would take me X amount of time to a project that was worth $30,000 that took me the same amount of time. And so now I'm making way more money for way less effort. And so raising your rates is just a part of running your own business. And even if you have a 9-to-5 job, you want to make sure that you continue to increase your rate and your salary and you negotiate that over time. Another thing that I did at this time was to invest back into my business. So I made purchases to gear that would increase the value of my productions. I hired talent, amazing filmmakers that would also increase the value of my production. Always trying to make the best possible product that I can. That way I can charge more for what I'm offering. I can create a better service and a better product at the end of the day. And so always making those investments back into your business, back into yourself, whether it's through self-growth or it's through business growth, are really important values to have. On a more practical level, getting retainer clients and recurring clients is one of the most effective ways that you can increase your revenue. It's way easier to get past clients to work with you again than it is to get new clients that have never met you before that you have to sell your services to. And so I got a couple retained clients that were bringing me anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 every year that really made a substantial amount of my income. I would say that reoccurring clients accounted for about 80% of all of my revenue. And so you really want to make sure you want to continue to deliver for those clients that you have, because then they will come back for more and more work. Now, I want you to keep in mind that all of this is from a period in my life where I did not have a YouTube channel. I did not have an audience. I did not have any online courses. You don't need to do any of that stuff to generate revenue, income, and to pay off your debts. If you want to run your own business, and if that's really where the stars are aligning for your future, you don't need to have an audience to be able to do that. To service clients that start as a freelance business, whether you're a photographer, a filmmaker, or an artist, is a really great way to make a business. You just need to focus again on providing that value to your clients. Don't worry about growing a massive audience or think that that's what you need to be able to make a lot of money. So this week's video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform that helps you build your online presence as well as your online business. And I personally love Squarespace. I use them for 3 main reasons. Their website builder is really easy to use and effortless to customize. You can select from a range of beautiful templates, add your branding, and publish your website in no time. You can easily add new content, pages, and blog posts. So no need to stress out about the confusing technical backend stuff. And you can buy domains and set up your G Suite email accounts directly with Squarespace. When it comes to building an online presence, whether that be a website or an online business, you really want it to be easy, effective, and beautiful, and Squarespace allows you to do just that. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/MattD'Avella to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, and now moving along to the third and final step that helped me pay off my debt in just 4 years, and a step that might help you on your pursuit as well. Stay committed to your vision. So it's unlikely that you're gonna be able to pay off your debt in just a couple years. It may take you longer than 4 years, maybe even up to 10 years to pay off your debt. And so you really need to think long term, and you need to put together a plan that will help you to achieve your goals and stay committed to those goals for the long run. So one of the biggest things that you can do is track your progress. Whether you're trying to build a habit or you're trying to pay off your debt, it's really important to track things along the way. And so what I suggest you do is simply start a Google spreadsheet and bring all your accounts into them. So whether you have student loans, a car payment, credit card, statements, bring all those into one document and calculate the total amounts, the interest rates, as well as your monthly payments. Having that document to go back to a couple times a month just to see where my progress was at, and to also play around and kind of like get together a vision of what things might be like in 3 months' time or 4 months' time was invaluable for me. Another thing that helped me back at this time, and that will certainly help you, is to curate your feeds. And so I'm specifically talking about social media, but you could also expand this to your actual relationships in the social circles and the people that are influencing you in a negative way. So when you look at your feeds, and we know that the people that we follow and the people, the media that we consume and listen to affects our behavior and how we show up in the world and our thoughts and our mindsets and all that. So when we know that happens, we need to curate our feeds to make sure that we're following people that are instilling the values that we aspire to and that we want to have. And so follow boring personal finance experts. Follow personal finance experts that have an interesting angle and interesting content. When you have that showing up in your feed, when you understand and you're reminded frequently of why you're on this path, it can make it so much easier for you to stick through year after year. If all you're seeing are people that are flaunting the things that they just bought, the new iPhone, the new tech gadgets, the new car, the new Tesla, whatever it is, you're gonna feel this need and this urge to wanna get that thing, and then you might end up breaking on those really important values that you set out to and those really important goals when it comes to paying off your debt. So one small psychological thing that I did was something I call chunking. I don't even know if it's a thing. I haven't seen anybody talk about it in any personal finance books anywhere. But essentially, instead of just every single month taking whatever leftover money I had and then putting it into my debt, what I did, especially because I ran a business and you know my income wasn't always certain, I would save up about $20,000. And then I would take $10,000, a chunk of my savings, and I would throw that at my debt. And I would do that consistently because I knew and I trusted myself to not spend that money in other areas. If you don't trust yourself, then maybe this method won't work for you. But for me, being able to have that security net there, to see my money rise in my checking account and to take that $10,000 and throw it at my debt was a really powerful psychological motivator. And it was a great win. It felt really great every time I was able to make a significant dent in my debt versus chipping away at it $500 to $1,000 at a time. One final thing that I'll leave you with is that just because you're paying off your debt, just because you're spending less money and you're working on making more money and you're working your butt off, doesn't mean that life needs to be miserable for yourself. And so look at your debt, look at the amount you have, whether it's $30,000 or $117,000, and figure out the different milestones along the way where you're gonna celebrate the wins, where you're gonna reward yourself for the hard work that you put into this very incredibly difficult process of becoming debt-free. And for me, when I got to about half of my student loans paid off, I did something big. I decided to move out of my parents' house. So it was around, I think, November 2012. After 2 years of living at home with my parents, after paying off a significant amount of my debt, I decided that it was time to move out and to make an investment in my mental health. Now, this was about $1,000 plus all those additional expenses I would now have to pay for, like food and groceries and all that stuff. I was taking on a lot more in terms of my expenses, and it was gonna slow down my debt repayment plan. But it was something I needed to do because I wanted to enjoy my life. I wanted to live. I'd made enough of a sacrifice and I had made enough progress that I was ready to make that jump. And so I urge you to think about those things, whether you're celebrating in small ways like going out for a drink or having a really fancy dinner, or you're moving out of your parents' basement. Think about the ways that you can enjoy this process and really celebrate all the wins along the way. So I really hope that these 3 tips and steps help you on your journey to paying off your debt. I know that it's not easy. I know it can be daunting and frustrating, and it can drive you crazy with anxiety to be looking at the bills that keep coming in. But if you work towards it, if you put in the time and the energy and the effort, you will be rewarded. Good luck.
Tested 1, 2, testicles. Testicles. Hi, my name is Matt D'Avella, and you're inside the Black Box.